In this video, we're going to be talking about going deep and why it's something you absolutely must do. No, we're not talking about reading poetry to your special somebody. We're talking about how you should be working and the types of projects that are going to change your life and your business in a very positive way. If you often spend a whole day feeling really busy, feeling like you've done a lot and worked really hard, and then at the end of the day you look back and you're like, what did I actually accomplish today? Then this video is for you. I want to get into the concept of going deep or getting into a state of flow, or you may have heard the term deep work as well, which is just someone else's term for this concept of flow and going really deep into your work. And this is very different than the sort of busy work that we so often do, where you're spending 2 minutes on this email, 3 minutes on this post, and answering this call, this text, and jumping all around. These days, the world is so noisy, noisier than it has ever been. There are a million distractions out there. And sometimes it can feel like you need to be busy. You need to be keeping up with all these posts and everything else in order to succeed at whatever it is you're doing. And that's sort of true. There is a bit of a choice especially if you have your own business, if you're trying to find a way to stand out. One is to be really busy and to post 100 stories a day about every latte you've ever had. The other option is to focus on getting into flow and doing deeper work, creating meaningful things with your time. I think this is the only way to go. If you are an NF type, it goes without saying this is the only way to go. Not only because I think you will find a lot more success going this route, where you work on less projects and you focus on quality over quantity, but it's also really good for your sanity. In fact, some people say that the state of flow when you are immersed in your work and you are just losing track of time, focusing on one thing and just doing, that is actually the state we seek when people say they're looking for happiness. It's actually about getting into a state of flow that is the most satisfying thing. So this state is going to allow you to possibly make more money, have less stress, feel happier. I mean, come on, what's the catch? There really isn't one, but you have to make some hard decisions. So working in flow is going to lower your stress levels, let you be more creative, probably make more money, and actually achieve happiness. All right, so why aren't most people working this way? What is holding us back? So what stops us from getting into flow? Well, the first thing is actually setting that intention, because in many cases we've learned, whether it's at university or in some of our early jobs, that you're supposed to look busy all the time. You're supposed to be running around like a crazy person, responding to text 24/7. So the first thing is actually to say, hey, my goal here is to find long periods of time where I can work on one important thing at a time. Think a minimum of 90 minutes, but if this is new to you, you might want to set aside more like 2-3 hours so you have more time to get into flow. Or if you really struggle to focus, you might actually want to go the other way and start with like 45 minutes. But an uninterrupted block of time is very key, because one of the things that stops us from getting into flow and doing deep work, aside from not planning to, is interruptions. So rule number one here, you have to turn off your phone, notifications, everything. So I'm someone who already minimizes notifications. Unless I'm expecting a really important call, my phone is always on silent. I highly recommend you do the same. And I'll explain a bit later in the video why even when you're not trying to get into flow and deep work, if you're always getting distracted by notifications, it's going to prevent you from focusing when you do need to focus. So turn everything off. I suggest actually not bringing a phone when you're going somewhere or to some part of your home to do deep work. But at the very least, put it in airplane mode. Minimize any sort of distractions. Yes, this includes people as well. So I would recommend finding somewhere where you won't be interrupted. And personally, I love headphones as a way to block out a bit of noise and let people know that, nope, not open to a conversation at this moment. The next thing that holds people back from getting into flow and doing deeper creative work is a lack of scheduling it and prioritizing it in terms of looking at your day, looking at what are all the things I need to do, what are the most important larger projects, and then prioritizing them to come first. If you have 10 little, fairly easy tasks to do and one big thing that's going to require a lot of focus and creativity, almost 100% of the time, you will naturally gravitate to finishing the little things first and thinking, okay, I'll clear my plate, I'll do all those little things, and then I'll get to this really important work. Then I'll finally start writing my book. The thing is that finally time never happens because with most little tasks, once you do one, it creates another one. You respond to an email, it's done. Oh, damn it, the person just responded, right? And so you'll always have more to clear your plate. And yes, it is a form of procrastination. So when I get into deep work, and I'm someone who's pretty good at this, I've published 11 books, I've created multiple businesses, I do a lot of deep work-based businesses and creative projects. It always comes first in my day. That I haven't even turned my phone on before I've gotten into my first serious chunk of time to work on something. So that is really key. Prioritize it first and then figure out all the other things. Because another little secret here is that those 10 whatever tasks, if you give yourself the whole day, they will take the whole day. But if you leave them to the last hour, you'll find a way to get them done in an hour. And then that opens up all that time. So little things that you tend to procrastinate or that aren't that important, cram them towards the end of your day and do them all at once, making time for this deep work at the beginning of the day. The last major reason that a lot of people are unable to get into these sorts of projects and really just focus and get into flow is a total misalignment of your dopamine levels and expectations. So dopamine is one of the brain chemicals, the one really, that helps us focus. And it's a bit around ambition and drive and also just focus, like staying on task essentially, right? It plays a big role in our prefrontal cortex, our executive functioning, which some of us, like with ADHD, let's say, have a little less of. So we sometimes have trouble staying on task and that kind of thing. Now, the amount of dopamine you need to focus changes based on what your activities are. So, for instance, if you were living in the 1930s and you could just read books, you would find books really fascinating and you would have enough dopamine hit from that task to stay focused and read. Whereas if your dopamine threshold, what you're used to, is playing some addictive phone game that is designed by some genius in some secret headquarters somewhere to maximize your addiction by maximizing your dopamine levels, then your baseline dopamine you need to stay put is going to be extremely high. And you'll find something like reading a book or writing or even drawing or designing, something that maybe you used to love doing, you just aren't able to sit and do that. And the reason is your baseline for dopamine has just become too high because of things like video games, social media, even certain TV shows are designed in ways to hook you more, where it's all these like quick plot twists and hanging endings and all this, versus say a lot of movies, which are slower and more played out. And so whatever it is, I highly recommend taking on a dopamine detox. I'll link to my video on that. Or just generally paying attention to the sort of stimulation you take in, right? So maybe if you need to do some high stimulation activities, do them in the middle or end of the day. And when you wake up, keep things really calm and relaxed. Maybe just read a little bit, have some tea, and then get into your creative projects or deep work. And it will be a lot easier. If you wake up, you jump on YouTube for 20 minutes, any channel but mine, and start playing a couple games on your phone, it's going to be impossible to then calm your mind and get into deeper projects. The type of work we do, it's like what we eat. Sure, eating candy tastes pretty good at the time, especially if you like candy. Gummy bears and sour worms are my thing personally. But you ultimately feel bad after and are just always craving more regardless. Whereas eating something really healthy and nourishing, perhaps a great salad with some barbecued steak on top, that's going to be nourishing and you'll enjoy it in the time, not in the same way maybe that you would crave candy, but it's actually a more satisfying meal to have. And that's what deeper work is. That's what getting into a state of flow is. It's satisfying and something that leaves you feeling really good about the day. I've actually found days that I start by getting into flow. Often for me, it's by writing, that the rest of the day goes much better. Rather than draining my energy on that, I actually have more energy to do other things in the day. These things that we get addicted to, whether it's cell phone games, video games, TV shows, certain food, social media, we all know it leaves us feeling hollow and empty after. It's like eating junk. You're just craving more, but it never fills you up, and it ultimately ruins your life, or at the very least lowers the quality of your life in a very, very significant way. So what I'd encourage you to do is follow the advice in this video and start getting into the state of flow. Start working on deeper projects that are meaningful and satisfying. They're not going to be as immediately enticing to jump into. Any writer knows that getting into writing can be a little terrifying the first day when you're getting back at it, if you're a bit rusty. But when you really get into it, you end the day feeling satisfied and fulfilled, and ultimately your life gets better and better. So thinking about what you need to do here, just to recap a bit. First, check in with your dopamine levels. I don't mean actually get it tested, but I mean pay attention to how easily you get distracted. If you can't have a 15-minute conversation with someone interesting without having to check a phone or something, then you're baseline 0. You've got some serious work to do. If you can generally sit down and watch a 1-hour TV show without also checking your phone or watching a second TV show or playing a game on your phone, then you're doing okay. There's some work to maybe be done. If you can watch a 3-hour movie from the 1970s, then probably your dopamine levels, your baseline is just fine. And if you can sit down and read a book for a couple of hours, even better. That's really where you want to get to. And so if you find that you are way too distracted, then think about what you can cut out. Again, check out my video on a dopamine detox. It did wonders for me. Next, you want to schedule in time to get into flow, or at the very least to be disconnected and with your thoughts. So if you don't yet have a creative project, something deeper you can work on, then just schedule an hour to go walk around a park without any electronics. You can do the same thing going to like a museum, an art gallery, or just out in nature, anywhere interesting. Schedule time to be just with your thoughts. Eventually, if you're not able to do it right away, then do this with scheduling in the actual deep work where you'll get into the state of flow. And then when you're setting that up, this is the third thing, make sure you eliminate all possible distractions beforehand. So like I said, don't actually bring your phone. If you're bringing a laptop, let's say you're writing like me, then any research you need to do the night before. You don't want to show up at the cafe you're going to write at and say, oh, right, I need to do some research. You hop on Google, 3 hours later, you haven't gotten into the state of flow because you've been researching the history of the 1712 war and just got a little distracted. So make sure that when you do dedicate this time that you eliminate possible distractions so you don't give yourself any excuse to stay in that very surface level type of work. In the comments below, let me know how you ranked on that dopamine threshold test, what it takes to hold your attention for 15 minutes or more, and how often, like how many times each week you get into the state of flow and are working on something that is really important to you. Let me know that below in the comments. My name is Dan. If you are new to the channel, I publish new videos each and every week, helping you become the best version of yourself, all while creating an awesome life for you and those you love. So definitely hit the subscribe button and the bell, and I'll see you in the next video soon. One last thing, if you're an ENFP who loves being told how absolutely awesome you are and why you are the best in the world, well, head over to dreamsaroundtheworld.com/ENFP training And you can get my free training series for ENFPs, where the first email is a pep talk. You'll see the subject line in your inbox. ENFPs are awesome. After you read it, reply to the email me back, and let me know what one of your favorite things to do is. See you in your inbox.